Some of the things we've seen over the last year or two, just between politics or between someone who might say something on Twitter the wrong way that a group of people don't like, seems like we'll call it the Twitter mob or whatever may kind of form together as a group to take down somebody or put up bad reviews or whatever it may be. You know, can we see that play out here where everyone kind of a certain group forms as jurors to put certain people out of business or to shut them out? Is that a risk?
They can try, but they will probably lose money doing that, because the way that Kleros is designed, for instance, is that when you're ruling as a juror, you're not trying to just like vote the way that you want. You're trying to find what's called a Schelling point among the other jurors. And just to give an analogy, if you were going to meet someone in New York and you didn't specify where would you go? It'd probably be like Times Square or maybe Central Park. Like that's a Schelling point. It's in the absence of coordination, what do people end up choosing as a group? And so in Kleros, it's really this economic game where you're trying to rule on these cases the way that the other jurors are going to rule, but you don't know how they're going to rule because they're anonymous. You don't know them, and your money is on the line. And if you rule in the minority, you lose your tokens. So that means that not only do you lose value, but now you're a smaller piece of that court system, and because it's token weighted. So over time, if you're ruling incorrectly, you're going to have less and less say in the court system, and the people that rule correctly will have more say. And if you get a large enough group, let's say you get a group that goes in and buys 51% of the tokens in the system, yeah, they could start swinging cases if they're all secretly coordinating, and the market doesn't realize this. But what would happen is if someone feels like their case was ruled incorrectly, they can appeal it to a higher court. What that means is it will pull in more jurors from the system, and you can keep appealing all the way up until you get all the jurors in the entire system. And so, yes, if you have 51% of the tokens there, that last appeal, you'll still be able to corruptly resolve it. But what happens then is it will create a fork in the system where the smart contracts split into two, and everyone that thinks the case should have resolved this way goes into this system. Their tokens migrate over there, and in the other system, the tokens migrate to the other one. And now the market will see that you have these two competing court systems, one which ruled this way and one which ruled the other way. Which one are you going to use as your content moderation system, right? If everyone thinks this one is corrupt, yeah, it sucks they bought 51% of the tokens, but now they're isolated in their own court system that nobody wants to use because they've seen that it's corrupt. And the other one that has the legitimate jurors is now the one the market is going to use, is going to pay fees to. So that threat of the forking system is what makes it not worth it for you to try to 51% attack these things, because you're just going to end up, your tokens are going to be worthless because no one's going to use your fork anymore.
So what are the applications that are probably going to utilize Kleros in the coming future? Or some of the first ones, you think?
Yeah, so they're already doing a number of integrations. A big one has been like token registries. So people can post an ERC20 token to a registry, and that they give it a name, they give it an icon and a link to a website and things like that. That data is really important for things like trading on Uniswap, right? You want to make sure you're trading the right token and not somebody that deployed their own ERC20 with the same name, and it's just a scam that they just minted themselves all the tokens. So having these official registries of tokens is important, and doing it in a decentralized way is important. So that's been a big way that they've been using this. So anything that requires some sort of registry, you can specify the rules for being listed, and then people can post things to the registry. And if it's wrong, it goes into a dispute. And so far that's worked very well. There's also been some DAOs that have used it to, dispute in the case of some contract not being performed correctly in terms of like work. You're contracting with somebody to do work. I think we're going to see more of that because DAOs have a lot of money and they're hiring like crazy. They've got a ton of work to do, but you're going to eventually get these scammy people showing up that say, yeah, I'll do this work, go ahead and pay me. And then they're not going to do it, or it's going to be poor quality. The solution to this is this court system, because you put the money in escrow, and then if the two parties agree that the work was done correctly, it's all good. The money just pays out. But if there's a dispute, you can go through the court system, and then the court can decide, were the terms of the contract honored and which party should get the funds. Aragon has already forked Kleros and integrated their own court system, which, it's a bit controversial. Personally, I think they should have just used Kleros, but, they saw the need for that. But that doesn't stop an Aragon DAO from using Kleros. And then again, content moderation. There's been some of this use on Kleros as well. And in 2022, now that we're seeing a lot of these decentralized social networks come about, they're all going to realize they need that service. And Kleros 2.0, which is supposed to launch, I believe, later this year, will offer multi-chain cases. So they're going to deploy on probably a roll-up. They haven't said exactly where yet, but Arbitrum, Optimism, something like some ETH2 roll-up. But they will have bridge integration so that they can send and receive messages to other chains, and that will enable a chain or a social network running on another chain to send a message to Kleros and get a dispute about some content. That, I think, is going to be key for these social networks, because otherwise they're just sort of doing token votes or something to moderate, and it's not going to go well.